This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. I've been doing this program for a while now, and I've talked to many people about self-development and self-empowerment. But recently, I just found out about something that's new to me, biohacking, a term used to explain techniques designed to energize and enhance our bodies. How does it work? What does it do? What are its benefits? We're going to talk about all this with nutritionist and biohacker Brittany Ford. Brittany is a registered holistic nutritionist focusing on supporting gut, hormonal, and skin health through nutrition and biohacking. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Brittany.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you because I want to really understand what is biohacking. So tell me what it means.
Yeah, I think biohacking is a very new term for something that people have been kind of doing for a very long time. My definition of biohacking is that it's holistic self-care for optimal health. What that means is that instead of only looking at one pillar that can influence our health, like nutrition or fitness, biohacking is very holistic and wholesome in nature. So it looks at your sleep, it looks at relationships and stress and your environment and all of these things that really make up your life and make you you. And then it kind of takes that idea and says, how can we optimize these different parts of our life and become healthier and just better in general?
What got you interested in pursuing biohacking?
When I was studying to be a nutritionist and kind of started tweaking the way I was eating, I was starting to get results and feel better and kind of heal some of the underlying issues that were going on with my skin, with my gut health, that type of thing. But I really found that nutrition wasn't enough. So changing how I was eating, taking supplements, it just really didn't move the needle enough in terms of me wanting to feel better, look better, all these different things. So that's when I found biohacking. I kind of stumbled upon it and just really agreed with the whole philosophy behind it in terms of changing different parts of ourselves and changing different parts of our lives in order to become healthier. I started making changes and really saw a lot of great results.
So basically, it's just a way of approaching development where you approach it from all angles then.
That is a big component of it, but there's other components as well. There's a lot of people who focus on self-quantification. What that means is that you would do a blood test and get your biomarkers for a specific thing. Then you would do a whole bunch of biohacks and changes and then go back and do the same test. So it's like quantifying your body and quantifying yourself. And that is really great because you actually have the data and you can actually look at if you've improved or not, and how different changes that you've done have made you healthier or haven't. We're in a time where at-home test kits or DNA tests, blood tests, hormone tests, everything is so much more accessible than it once was. So we actually now have a lot of power and we can actually make a lot of change through these types of testing.
Are you looking at taking somebody who is basically healthy and just optimizing the health, or do you use this to cure illnesses?
When I work with clients, they typically come to me with issues or concerns. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a full-blown disease or something super serious like that, but it could be something like every time I eat food, I get bloated, or I have eczema, or I have acne that I can't get rid of, or I can't sleep at night, or I'm always irritated, or just those types of things. And people have tried so many things, all of these quick fixes, and they haven't worked. And then when I sit down with them, that's when we kind of take a step back. We'll do a bunch of testing and we'll start from the ground up and start looking at their lifestyle, looking at their decisions, and see what we can tweak and what we can improve.
So if somebody, they get bloated when they eat, it may not necessarily be the food they're eating, but maybe it could be things like stress or some other parts that are going on in their life.
Yeah, totally. It could be like for that specific thing, you can get your gut microbiome actually tested. You could do a test like that and look at the bacteria that's in your gut that could be producing the gas that is making you bloated all the time, right? So that would be the approach, is like get tested, figure out what is actually causing it, and then what can we do now with this data, and how can we change what you eat, the supplements that you're taking, different things like that.
Is there a difference in the way that you would approach biohacking with a man versus a woman?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of research behind men and males' health in general. Like typically when studies are done, they use males because the females are more intricate. We have a hormonal cycle that works on 28 days, roughly. Not even everybody is 28 days. Sometimes it's 35 days. Sometimes it's less. And with men, they work on a 24-hour cycle. So it's much easier to conduct research on something or on men because it's so similar like throughout. Whereas females, our menstrual cycle really impacts things. So yeah, it's definitely different. And there's definitely biohacks out there that can be great for men, but when women do them, it's too much and it's too intense. And so you kind of have to take these biohacks that kind of come and go and the trends that come and go and apply it to your life and ask the question of, just because this works for somebody else, is it going to work for me? And I might get different results, and that's okay. And then I need to change things.
Yeah. So what would be an example of something that, because men have been tested so much, it works for them, but then when you apply it to women, it isn't as effective?
Yeah. So one of the most common examples is intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is so popular right now, and it can be so helpful for a wide variety of issues that people are dealing with. However, most of the research is done on men for it, or women who are postmenopausal. So when you are postmenopausal, obviously you're no longer having a menstrual cycle. And so your hormones have kind of evened out from day to day. But the research on women premenopausal, it's lacking. So now when women try to do intermittent fasting, especially long term, they get a lot of negative effects that we didn't know were going to happen and didn't happen in men. So for example, it will delay ovulation and cause irregular periods. It will cause sleep disturbances. Maybe, you become more irritable and angry, like the emotion behind it. So that's just one example. And there are others, but even myself, like when I first heard of intermittent fasting, I did it, and I did it for a couple of years, and it totally wrecked my hormones. And I had to take a step back and be like, okay, even though this is so popular and works, and I understand how great it can be for detoxing the body and blood sugar control and all of these things, for me and my health and fertility and one day having kids, like this isn't working for me. So I need to choose a different way. And that's why you work with a professional, right? Like they can kind of help you through that and help you make the best decision.
Right. Let's talk about something specific. One of the things I think affects so many people is not getting enough sleep. So how would you approach helping somebody get a good night's sleep through biohacking?
Yeah. This is a great one. So I had so many sleep issues for so long. Like I would wake up multiple times throughout the night, get up, go to the bathroom, go back to sleep. And I thought it was normal. I didn't know any better at the time. And then I started biohacking my sleep, and I cannot believe the difference now to how I was sleeping like 2 years ago. Easy things for people to do and where to start would be looking at the amount of blue light that you're exposed to before you go to bed. So blue light is emitted from our phone, from our TV, from the lights in our house, and really disrupts the melatonin production that is going on in our brain. And melatonin is the sleep hormone, right? So if we're suppressing that hormone, how are we going to sleep properly throughout the night? So you can do this by, using candles, dimming the lights, or using blue blocking glasses that are red tinted. So it actually blocks the blue light from going through. It kind of makes everything red, obviously, like when you're looking through them, but will make you sleep so much better. And so that's just like an easy way to start. There's other things you can do as well, but that's definitely where I would begin.
I know this is pretty important to me as a dream life coach, because if you do not get a good night's sleep, you can't dream properly. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things I tell people also when I say, how do you remember your dreams? One of the things I say is turn off all devices at least an hour before going to bed. Yeah. So you're just not exposed to it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like even just from a radiation standpoint as well, like keeping your phones out of your bedroom or turning your phones on to airplane mode and really creating a like sleep sanctuary, like routine, right? I think the bedroom, when I see people with a TV in their bedroom, I just like cringe. And you must as well with your line of work. Like that is not good for you. It's not good for your health. The bedroom needs to be a place that you go at night and is away from the rest of the world and lets you dream and kind of be in this space that you're supposed to be as a human being, right? Like dark, cool, and rested.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's another thing I say is to treat your bedroom like it's your palace.
Yeah.
And, honor it. So I have to ask you, as somebody who has used biohacking to get a better night's sleep, do you remember your dreams?
Yes, I do. I vividly remember my dreams. I could even tell you what I dreamt last night or this morning. Yeah, I do. And it's funny because my partner, he says he never remembers his dreams. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what the science is behind that. But I've also had like lucid dreaming too. So like I've had dreams where I know I'm dreaming and have like, and maybe it's even been like a nightmare and I've actually had to like pull myself out of the dream and wake myself up. And I've had dreams where I can like make the decisions in the dreams of like what is happening, which is crazy to say out loud, but yeah.
It may sound crazy, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
And it's very true. Is this something that you developed after you started biohacking, or is this something that you've always had within you?
I think I've always remembered my dreams, but I would say that I remember them better now. And I would say that like the idea of lucid dreaming probably happens more now. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we're going to get into this in some more detail, but we're going to take a short break now. We are talking all about biohacking with Brittany Ford, and we'll be right back. When is a car not a car? When it shows up in your dreams. Cars are one of the most common dream symbols. If you don't know why you're dreaming about cars or any image, it can leave you confused or scared. But that dream could be a solution to a pressing problem, or an insight into a solution that's been bugging you for years. Go to my website and sign up for a complimentary discovery session, and I'll help you understand why a dream is a terrible thing to waste. Go to thedreamcoach.net for more information.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking all about biohacking with Brittany Ford. Well, Brittany, another area of concern to a lot of people, and it affects people at all ages, but also when you get older, something that gets a bit more concerning is your brain health. So tell me how biohacking affects our ability to improve our memory.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do to improve your cognition. everything from nutrition to sleep to supplements. Like typically if somebody came to me and said, hey, I don't think my brain is functioning at capacity, I'm struggling with memory, I would definitely start with nutrition. Are you eating enough healthy fats? Are you eating a lot of processed food? Like really taking a look at that, because I feel like, your brain is mostly made out of fat, and a lot of people aren't actually eating healthy fats. And a lot of people are getting fat from vegetable oil or chips or like, I don't even know, places that just don't create healthy fats, compared to like olive oil or avocados. So I think we would start there. And then I would also question your sleep, just on this topic of sleep, like everyone knows that if you don't sleep well, the next day you feel so irritated and like you're not functioning properly and you're tired and you really lack the energy. And today in our society where everyone is working all of the time, a lot of us are kind of functioning in that zone almost every single day, right? Like really low sleep throughout the week. On the weekends, maybe we're not making the healthiest decisions. And then we go again and we start the next week. And so how can we expect our brains to function at full capacity and perform how we want it to perform when we're actually not resting enough and giving it enough time to, make up for being active all day? And when clients come to me, we do like full intake forms and kind of spend a full hour going through it. But that's where I would start. I would start with nutrition and I would start with sleep.
Yeah, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into the whole idea of fats, because I remember the food pyramid that we learned as children, talked about different things, and fats were supposed to be bad for us and just to eliminate them. So talk to me a bit more about what is a good fat and fat that we should avoid.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting how like diets have changed in the last like 30, 40 years, because for so long, everything on packaging kind of said like 0 fat or fat free. And you would buy it and you would be like, oh, this is healthy for me because this says fat free on it. But it's actually like a bag of chips that are like over processed and filled with like salt. So I think it's very interesting that we've kind of done this shift. And now things like keto, like the ketogenic diet, which is a high fat diet, is very popular. So basically, if you look at it, we can either function on one or two different energy sources. So one is carbohydrates, glucose, and the other is fat. Now, fat is much different in the body. It produces less of a blood sugar spike. So there's less like crashing. So if you were to eat a diet that was super high in fat all day, you're not going to kind of feel this like wave of energy and then crash and energy and crash that we typically feel when we eat a diet high in carbohydrates. So you can kind of feel this like if you were to eat something like ice cream or something very sugary, like afterwards you're super buzzy and energized because your blood sugar has spiked. But then in an hour you crash. And you see this in children as well, like after like dessert or something like that. But when you eat something that is high in good fat, you're kind of making this curve that doesn't necessarily have the drop-offs. Good fats can come from a variety of places. So like I kind of said, like olive oil, avocado is really great. Coconut even has a lot of good fat. And then also meat too, if you consume meat. So there is a lot of healthy saturated fat in things like a steak or different cuts like that. And that can be really good for you as well.
Also, the healthy fats can also help maintain good weight.
All of our hormones are made out of fat, right? So we need fat literally to sustain healthy hormone levels. And that includes hormones that are associated with weight gain and weight loss and that whole aspect. So I kind of like that keto is so popular for that reason, because we're kind of like demystifying this whole idea of fat. And people are showing that you can follow a diet high in fat and still lose weight or like maintain a healthy weight.
A lot of diets say we shouldn't eat meat, but what is your take on eating meat?
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, like I've worked with people who are both vegan and carnivore, like both ends of the spectrum. And I think it's specific to the person. Like I would love to say that like one diet fits everybody, but it's just not like that. So I think the best diet for you is based off of where you are currently in life, based off of your DNA, if you get tested, if you do blood work, other tests like that, and something that's very specific to you right now, which can include meat. Meat can be very nutrient dense. Animal products can be very nutrient dense, right? Like even if we look at eggs, the yolk of an egg literally gives life to a chicken. Like it is so nutrient dense compared to eating like vegan foods that, you know, you can buy a box of crackers that is super processed, but it'll say vegan on it. So vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthier, right?
I heard somebody say once that just eat foods that don't come in a box.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whole foods, right? Like sticking to one ingredient foods. So like if you buy a head of broccoli, like it's literally one ingredient, it's only broccoli. But if you go and buy like, I don't know, broccoli soup, and you actually look at the back of it and it's got like all of these extra things added, like cream and sugar and salt and all these things, like, is that really healthy compared to you taking that broccoli home and making soup yourself?
Well, we are about to get into what a lot of people call the eating season with the holidays coming up, where people just get tempted in ways where they could go the whole year and probably stay pretty good. How does somebody maintain healthy eating when there's so much temptation out there?
This is a very good question. And I don't know if there is an easy answer. Like for myself and for a lot of people, I think when you become healthy, it's very like out of sight, out of mind. So like you no longer buy the foods that you once were addicted to, or maybe you loved because you know they're not healthy for you. So it's easy because you're not eating them because they're not in the house because you're not buying them, right? But when you go to a holiday party or a holiday dinner, it's much different because now it's in your face. And you have to make that decision right then and there. Like, are you going to eat that extra slice of pie or whatever it is? So I understand the difficulty behind it. And I think that balance is key. And I do agree with that on one hand. Like, I think if you've been relatively healthy and you're making all of these healthy decisions, and then you go and have dinner and you splurge because it's Christmas and it's the holidays, I don't think you should feel bad about that. I think you should just give yourself grace and self-love, you know? But I think when it becomes like, you know, Friday night, Saturday night, every weekend, and then you're kind of back into this routine of like eating a lot of sugar and a lot of processed foods, I think that's when we need to be concerned. So I think the easiest solution would be like in moderation, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's always been one of my key mantras, moderation, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about nutrition and we've talked about hormones and eating properly and being tested for some issues that may be affecting us. Where does the role of exercise come in terms of biohacking?
Yeah. So this is like obviously super important. I don't think we need to be exercising extensively every single day. I think we can have a balance with it again. And so I think the idea of like daily movement or daily organic movement is really, really key. And that can look like, you know, cleaning your house or taking the dog for a walk for an hour. It doesn't necessarily have to be this idea of like going to a spin class or going to the gym for an hour and lifting super heavy weights. Like it's just more of moving your body and being less still, sitting less. And so that's the approach that I take. And I kind of try to reinforce in people is like, how can you get your work done and live your life, but be moving your body basically all day as frequently as possible?
So if you're sitting at a computer all day, just get up every once in a while.
Like you can get a standing desk, you can do stretches. Some people sit on like, yoga balls or like different types of things that activate the core differently while you're sitting, which I think is cool. Some people have standing desks now, or even like bikes. So they're like cycling while they're at their desk, which is really cool. And a lot of people now take like walking meetings, which I haven't done, but I might start, which is like, you plug it into your phone and you have headphones and you actually are walking while you're having a work meeting. And I think that's really smart.
It does sound smart.
Yeah.
Is it ever too late to start biohacking?
No, oh my goodness, of course not. I think the best day to start is today. I mean, biohacking and healthy decisions in general, I think compound over time. And so of course, like if you're going to start when you're 16, you're really going to reap the benefits over time, but it's still much better than continuing to make unhealthy decisions throughout the day as you get older. And it becomes a lifestyle, and it has to be a lifestyle. But being healthy is like day in and day out, you are making healthier decisions than you are unhealthier decisions, right? Like, so the balance goes towards your health, not against your health. Like you actually have to do that every single day in order to maintain health. And that's hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It requires money. And I think the sooner you start, the better, no matter how old you are.
Always good advice there. And the final thing I want to talk about is stress, because that's something that affects everybody. So what are your recommendations for easing stress?
Yeah. I mean, especially in the last year and a half, 2 years, I think it's kind of gotten a little out of control for a lot of people. I think recommendations are different. So some people really love journaling, like dream journals, even like you've mentioned before. Some people love meditating. I tend to do very well with things like saunas or steam rooms that are very like detoxing. And I just sit there and kind of like reflect and actually figure out a lot of problems that I'm dealing with, because I've given myself space and time to think, and no one can contact me. It's away from notifications. It's away from technology. So that really helps my stress levels. But there's a lot of things you can do. Like we recently got a puppy and it's been great. It brings so much joy to our lives and happiness. And that has been really good for stress levels. So figuring out what works for you. And it's okay if like everyone's meditating and meditation doesn't work for you. Like there's so many different things that you can try.
The key thing though is to look for something that works for you
and stick to it, right? Like making it a habit so that every day you are meditating or every day you are going for a walk in nature and reflecting and taking time to rest and be easy. I think we need to, again, compound things and make them habits and stick to them to really get the most reward.
Well, Brittany, this has been so informative. I have time for one final question, which is how can people find out more about you and your work?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. My website is biohackingbrittany.com. I also have a podcast. It's called Biohacking with Brittany. And all of my social media handles, I'm most active on Instagram, and it's Biohacking Brittany.
Wonderful. Brittany, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, we've been speaking with nutritionist and biohacker Brittany Ford. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you have, please tell all your friends, follow me, and drop a positive review on your podcast site. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.